All right, let's get started. Got a few things to go through. I don't know what week it is in the semester. It's 5 or 6, right? So there's 10 left, and I hope that you are into your estimate and have some takeoff done. If you don't, then it's time to reevaluate and reschedule. I'm guessing the estimate's a 40-hour proposition. The schedule, maybe another 20, depending on how well you do your estimate. The reason I asked for the estimate first was everything, all the deliverables in my mind stem from a good estimate. Okay. So I'm hoping that people are in that. And this is senior project, so I just want to reiterate, I'm not going to make things due every week just so that you do them. If the teams don't get them done, you don't get them done, and it's not on me. Okay. So I want to be sure I'm doing everything to let you all know what you need to do, and so that's really what I'm going to talk about tonight. I want it to be more of a performance-based thing than prescriptive. So I'm assuming I've had some comments, not necessarily from you all, but I've had some comments that, when we figure out what we're supposed to do, you're supposed to know what to do. You're supposed to know how to put an estimate together. If you don't, then I'm here to help. I think on the 10th, the last time I stood up here, I pretty much broke down what I'm looking for in the estimate. If you need help with what these things are, let me know. I'm not going to teach estimating or scheduling or any of that stuff. I just want to help you with issues and questions. I need you to tell me what you need from me. Okay. So I'm not going to entice you by saying turn in this portion of it this week and turn in this portion of it next week. If you can't, a big part of the class is organizing your time and organizing your team. And I'm not going to push you along with little subordinate assignments. If you want to blow off spring break, blow off spring break. Let's talk about deadlines that I haven't talked about. This little table is all that I gave you in the syllabus with the weights and the points. And I still want all these things. I just wanted to concentrate on the estimate. And I've said 30 March, but man, I'd get it done before that if you can. I mean, that's just that's about the only prod date I have in here. So let's talk about what these things are. A project work proposal. If no one knows what that is, what is that? That's the estimate and the proposal. I need to have a cost estimate that's marked up with overheads and profit. And if you need help with that, I can help. The project work plan, that's a CPM schedule. And it needs to be cost loaded and resource loaded. So it's really the activities in your estimate work breakdown structure with logic applied. If you do those two things, then you can pretty much write the final report. And I've given you two recommended practices, estimate basis and schedule basis, if you kind of follow that guideline, that's the final report for the most part. Doesn't really cover project controls. What would a project control plan be about? Yeah, it's about what is your plan once you implement the work, all right? So the estimate, the proposal, and the CPM schedule that's cost loaded and resource loaded, those two things together are your work plan. And the report should just be kind of a lab report. If you haven't looked at those RPs, get on it, because you can structure your reports just like that. And it's a list of assumptions you've made, where you got your cost sources, how you approached it, what you did. It's a lab report. And it's a good documentation of why the plan is what it is. Project control plan is, once we start the work, how are we going to track the costs and the time? Quality assurance, quality control, what would that be? How are you going to ensure that you're going to meet the minimum specifications in the project? Safety plan should speak for itself. The presentation will be a short video, 5 to 7 minutes, presenting your work, presenting all of that. And so I put some dates on here just so that I have time to, grade some stuff at the end. Let me do it this way. I'll put this up tonight, but those certainly aren't dates that, I would beat them if you can. And so all I was really asking for, I didn't put up a Dropbox on Blackboard. I wanted you to come up with a responsibility assignment matrix so that, at least for the estimate, you would know how you're going to meet that March 30 deadline and what you're going to do. I didn't put a Dropbox on. 2 teams sent me their RAM. And I didn't put out any specifications, and I don't think I'm going to. What do you think? And I just want to say, these aren't for me, these are for you. So I was trying to prod you to get your team together to think about who does what. But this is a schedule, and they probably put a lot of thought into it, and there's probably more there than I know. But what's missing? There's no people on there. Okay. So if they have it figured out, fine. I don't know if they have it figured out. They might. This one is a little more detailed. What's that? Did I? Okay. What would be missing here? Not that I specified it, but it's kind of like the 2 of them, there's no dates on here. So maybe the two of them could be married and you'd have something that you could use. Hey, it's for you, not me. You just need to have something that your team can look at so you can organize yourself and know you have to control your project, which is doing the deliverables. How do you know if you're ahead or behind? You need some kind of tool. So for the estimate, I have a clear conscience. Again, I broke it down pretty good in the lecture notes before we met. I'll break this other stuff down as deep as you want it. You're going to make up a hypothetical company, right? And you've got to do that, at least to a certain extent, before you finish your proposal. You can't do an estimate without knowing what home office overhead is going to be. So I want you to figure out some home office overhead. You have to design a company and quantify what the costs are to run it and how much is that job going to carry for home office overhead. I gave you somewhat of a guide with this quite a while ago. You got functional areas. There's charts there. You know, the main thing is this right here. The organizational model. That could be your guide for coming up with your company. You've got to have some management in the home office, and you've got to figure out how are you going to manage the project. Are you a matrix organization, or are you a functional organization, or something in between? Not necessarily a right answer. I just want you to see you design it, quantify it, get it into the estimate. It's a good thought process. The estimate or the work proposal, see, an estimate is not a proposal until you mark it up and submit it. I've broken that down pretty good for you in the lecture notes from before. If you need more clarification, just ask. Again, I think that you definitely deserve to know how I'm going to grade these things. But I'm definitely going to look for it's a checklist that I gave you a couple of weeks ago. If it doesn't have these things, it's not good. I can tell you that I'm looking for the estimate. I'm looking for those things in the structure of how you put the cost together. Okay? So think of the anatomy as a big part of the grade. How close you are to what the thing actually cost, it'll be small. That's not that big of a deal. I'm going to look for blunders, mistakes and blunders. If you've got some math errors or something like that, or a big quantity bust, I'm going to look for that. You should know the project better than me. I know the projects generally. And if you take the time to do the takeoff and the schedule logic, you should know it much better than me. But I know a good estimate when I see it. So I hope this is giving you some more clarification. The project work plan is the most of it's the schedule. So a good CPM schedule should tell someone like me just about everything they want to know about the project. If you cost load it, I know about costs. If you resource load it, I know your methodology and what you're going to self-perform and what you're not. I'm going to know the timing and the sequence of events of your work breakdown structure for the project. That's a lot of information. Your work breakdown structure should be the scope. So on both the estimate and the schedule, I'm going to be looking for complete scopes. So having a complete scope is better than maybe being off on your quantities or even your costs. Maybe you got a hold of a bad cost source. RS Means is really a bad cost source, but we don't have a lot more than that. You can find other ones as long as you document them. I'm good with it. The project control plan. How are you going to control your documents? How are you going to control all the correspondence back and forth between the stakeholders of the project? Specifically, the owner's representative, either the construction manager, who's an agent of the owner, or the architect, who's the agent of the owner. We're weak on that in the program right now. So a lot of the people online that are in industry may know a lot more about that, but there are entire dedicated software suites for keeping track of RFIs. I can show you some examples in a spreadsheet. I just want you to have a plan for how you're going to track the documentation. It's huge. How are you going to track the schedule? Okay. How are you going to track the plan compared to what's been completed? Are you going to use earned value? How are you going to capture the costs in the field to get them back to your budget? How are you going to get what happens in the field reported back to the budget? That's one of the biggest problems in the industry, in the construction industry. I can tell you that. All the technology that I know, I've had to change it. I could be wrong. Tell me I'm wrong, because I haven't been on the front lines in 11 years. That's what project controls means to me. How are you going to handle changes? Do you have a change management process? Okay. Quality assurance, quality control. How are you going to meet the spec minimum standards? Obviously, you're going to have to do some testing. You're going to have to do the testing that's required in the specs. Are you going to do any more than that? What if you have failures? How are you going to document? What do you need to document in QA/QC? Sure, inspections. You can take pictures. There's a multimedia. I mean, all the technology that we have now compared to when I was your age, man, there's great ways to document stuff. You can have webcams on the project. You got most everybody's got a camera on their hip. And you can call people with it. A lot of neat stuff. What else would you document, though, besides that? Inspections. How about submittals? How are you going to handle submittals, like material submittals? Hopefully you know that, before you install any material on a project, you have to get a submittal from the vendor certifying that it meets spec, and it has to be approved before you can put it in place. Hopefully you know that. And, that's something that you have to build into your work processes. It's administration. A lot of you, your first job if you go to work for a contractor, you're going to be the grunt that does all that paperwork administration. RFIs, material submittals, all that stuff. Safety plan is what it is. I'm no expert on safety, but if you have questions, I'll try to get them answered. Get a safety person in here if we have to. You're supposed to have had safety. I understand it's a pretty decent course. Okay, let's talk about RFIs for a minute. And I'm talking about your team as it builds this estimate. You're going to have questions. And a lot of them I'm not going to be able to answer. I actually have RFIs for each job. I'll publish them next week, at least once. If I have more than one round, I'll probably wait. I think there's 2 sets of RFIs with answers for each project. I didn't design it, and a lot of it I can't answer. So what if you have a question that's not in one of the RFIs that I deliver to you? Make an assumption, you document it, you put it in your estimate basis or your final report. And I'll be checking assumptions. When I see something, I'll go, oh, why'd they do that? Mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. I'll probably give you a number for that for your estimate. If you want to take it off and cost it, I will look extremely favorable upon that. Extremely. But if you want, for those divisions, you can wait on a percentage from me. Okay? That's a big break I'm giving you. I'm not sure it's the smartest one, but I don't want to be a masochist. I don't want to be punitive to you. I want you to show me that you can do these things. That's what Capstone is. And I want to help you produce something nice and of quality that I can be proud of and show accreditation teams, show the director, show industry what you're doing. All of that's wrapped up into this. Okay. But again, a big part of it, y'all can do it, especially on teams. I think the biggest challenge is going to be getting yourselves organized and having the discipline to meet these milestones. I think that's the toughest part of this. So what I haven't really given you is how am I going to grade. Let's take, for instance, the estimate. I'll slap these things into a document. You know, this is pretty minimal. I'll have some other things as well. Number 3, 4, and 5 there. You know, one will be blunders. Can I read it? Can I understand it? I'm not sure how detailed I'll get with it, but I want you to know the way I'm going to grade it. Okay. And it's not going to be down to, you know, sections of 5 points. I'll tell you what, if you don't have the price segments, how much I'll take off. If you don't have cost categories, what I'm going to do. You know, one of the things I'm going to have you sort, it needs to be sortable by master format, uniformat. Okay. So you should be able to see totals of master format divisions and totals by uniformat level ones. Okay. So my lectures here won't really be lectures. Do I need to put up a Q&A thing and come in here and answer questions? Fine with that. You need to use me to your advantage. I'm not the best in the world, but I've done it more than you. And I want to obviously share that with others, or I wouldn't be here. All right. There are people online that have probably been involved in projects much bigger than I've ever done. But I know the anatomy of an estimate probably better than anybody. I trained people that did billion-dollar projects, and they learned stuff from me before I came here. Right? So just because someone's been doing it a long time doesn't mean they've been doing it right. I had to fight with that when I was training. Some company would buy a new software program, and of course, some people would like that. Some people would not like that. Some of the old timers, and I never lost an argument. I used to bet paychecks on things, and anyway, I never lost a paycheck. But anyway, I hope that kind of gives you a little more. So I'm starting to worry about the time for you. There's a lot of time left in this month. Tomorrow's the 20th. There's 10 whole days. You can get an estimate done in 10 days if you want to. Think how you'd feel then. Do I expect that to happen? Probably not, but try. So I'm just trying to, the only prodding I'm trying to do is scare you a little bit. There's some elbow grease that's got to be put in here, and there's no time to waste. And I don't want to feel guilty about, not disclosing something to you. But I'm not going to ask for a bunch of intermediate stuff just to keep you motivated. That's your problem, not mine. Questions? Do I need to put something up for questions? Or I can look at them, you put them up there during the week, I'll answer them as I can, or I'll come in and talk about them during these periods? Good. I haven't checked it in a day or so, but one person had a question about getting some of the software installed, and I created a wiki thread, and only one person helped out. So either people aren't checking that, or they don't want to be friendly, or they haven't installed any software themselves. What's that? What else do we need to talk about? Putting a 9mm in a 40 cal?
Hear that on the internet?
Okay. Check the site, because I'm going to start putting stuff up. Don't let twice a week lectures give you a sense of, oh, I need to do things twice a week. It's got nothing to do with your progress. It's a place to come twice a week to maybe get some questions answered. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.